Hi all! My name is Jenny, and I'd like to welcome you to our review of the top 5 strategy games on PC. We had a tough time deciding what games to include in this list, as there has been massive growth in the past years in the strategy arena. The list could go on forever. Nevertheless, here's our jab at the top 5 strategy PC games used to date. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like our video. Without further ado, let's get started! This review is brought to you by Computer Cube, your one-stop shop for the latest reviews in strategy games. Don't forget, everyone who watches this video is eligible to win a portable wireless mouse. Yes, shipping is included. Details at the end of the countdown. At number 5 is the classic World in Conflict. Real-time strategy games aren't as prevalent as they used to be. In the 90s and 2000s, the genre was in full force with games like Command & Conquer and Warcraft at the front of the charge, and it looked like there was no stop in sight. As technology improved and other genres became more popular, a lot of that fervor for the eagle-eyed view of real-time strategy began to waver. World in Conflict, the 2007 game by Massive Entertainment, proved that the genre was still viable, and that it could be incredibly fun to boot. Set in 1989 in an alternate history, the Soviet Union invades Western Europe and parts of the United States while other countries mull over whether to join the war against the US and its allies. It has most definitely taken some inspiration from the classic movie Red Dawn, though perhaps more in spirit than an actual plot. The game also takes inspiration from franchises like Call of Duty and Medal of Honor. The classic RTS games had you commanding an entire force, usually with the ability to produce more units at will if you had the resources. World in Conflict sees you as a much smaller role in the larger conflict, and in this way, you can command a tighter selection of soldiers and armors. Multiplayer also draws from the popular FPS games. In it, you select one of 4 roles to play, each with their own advantages and unique forces. Infantry can remain hidden for ambushes, armor units can wipe out larger clusters of enemies, and air units can easily take down tanks and other armor units. It's a well-thought-out game of rock, paper, scissors. In 2009, an expansion, Soviet Assault, was also released.
Is located to the east. Move swiftly. Enemy scout helicopter spotted. Neutralizing target. Fire. Area clear. In transit. Go. Alpha group moving. In transit. Placing explosives now. Go. Alpha group moving. In transit. Your men must get those explosives in place. They can't do that if they are not in position. In transit. Get out of the area as quickly as you can. Moving. Alpha group moving. Moving. Alpha group move. Go. Moving. Go. In transit. Go.
At number 4 is League of Legends. With over 6 million active players, League of Legends was one of the first big titles to prove that free-to-play was a viable option for AAA games. By July of 2009, less than 3 years after its initial release, it had become the most played PC game in terms of number of hours played. League of Legends was inspired by a custom game from Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, called Defense of the Ancients. In it, players pit champions against one another in deadly battles. The most popular mode in League sees teams attempting to topple the other's nexus, their main and most heavily protected building. Seeing as the game is free to play, it has easily become competitive at its highest levels. For those that aren't entering world championships or other leagues, it is the opportunity to become an enthralling addiction. The more time you spend with League of Legends, the deeper it enroots you. You gain influence points for each battle you participate in, and that can lead to global benefits to your champions. If you so choose, you can also pay premium prices to get the jump on your opponents with Riot points. New champions are released all the time, which gives you the opportunity to truly fall in love with the gameplay all over again. Since each champion has their own skills, benefits, and detriments, it truly does take a large commitment to master everybody, so most players pick their favorites and continue along with them if the option is available. Riot Games is also very fond of the characters they create, as their champions aren't just mindless monsters without backstories. Each champion has their own fully developed plot, and it plays into how they commit themselves to battle. At number 3 is the mighty StarCraft: Heart of the Swarm. StarCraft is an interesting franchise. We hadn't seen it for 12 years after the first expansion of the original dropped, and that was within the same year as the initial release. Blizzard's other big titles have had much more intensive development and scrutiny, but of late, we've seen StarCraft rise from obscurity. The second installment of the StarCraft II trilogy came out in March of 2013, and it proved that Blizzard can still churn out its flagship titles in record time. Heart of the Swarm opens 3 weeks after Wings of Liberty's story ended. You can take control of Sarah Kerrigan, who is being tested on to see if she still has signs of the infestation, and whether or not she can carry dominance over the swarm. The game explodes into a series of events that finds her seeking revenge for those who wronged her. Just like Wings of Liberty, this newest title in the StarCraft narrative has some deftly woven RPG elements, and the ability to improve your units through side missions. It has more of an organic feel, since you'll be helming the Zerg swarm through the galaxy. But they've given the Relentless Forces a more attractive feel this time around. They aren't necessarily presented as the villains anymore, but another species trying to survive. The multiplayer is where the game is truly bolstered. Units have been added for each of the factions, but the Zerg gets the freshest experience, with additions like the Viper, a caster-like flyer, and the burrowing spawn point, the Swarm Host, which can quickly overwhelm your foes. While the story seems to bring Kerrigan down a same-old path again, it does so in a way that heroizes her, rather than placing her as the villain.
Commander.
You can count on me. I'm getting mighty tired of seeing Meng's face. Blasted. Sounds like a plan. You can count on me. Raiders roll. Time to man up. Sounds like a plan. Time to man up. Where is everyone? You can count on the plan. Raiders roll.
At number 2 is my personal favorite, Company of Heroes 2. As real-time strategy games go, Company of Heroes is the new metric by which the genre can gauge their successes. The second installment is a beautiful game, first and foremost, but it excels at much more beyond that. Company of Heroes 2 takes place primarily through flashbacks. The story is narrated through Lev Abramovich, a Soviet lieutenant years after the end of World War II. His former commanding officer interrogates him about certain experiences in the war. There are some broad brushstrokes regarding the storyline and some of the happenings, and it is clever for perhaps not always painting certain people in the best light, although that did come with its own share of controversy. The game is different from some of the older RTS games by nature of how you collect resources and deploy units. Specific flagged points help you generate munitions and fuel, meaning that the faster you take these points, the better your hold on the map in question. Your speed at capturing points means holding your foes at bay as well. Likewise, they can crush your momentum if you let them. Company of Heroes 2 also has a more intimate look at the war, rather than large-scale combat. It's a little bit intense and a little bit gritty. You can use civilian houses as a small base, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're safe. You can be fleshed out if you spend too much time there. This title also does some pretty interesting things regarding units, weather, and even visibility. It stays pretty true to a lot of these different elements, including Stalin's Order 227, which forbade soldiers from full retreats. It's just one more feature that makes the game feel authentic in a pretty cool way.
Comrade, get up that hill! Remember him! Enemy outside! Time to leave! Replacements, move up! Comrade, get up that hill!
All hail the king at number 1, Civilization V: Brave New World. Brave New World is the final expansion pack for Civilization V, and it is jam-packed with several millennia full of new features. First and foremost, there are 9 new civilizations available, including Portugal, Assyria, and the Zulus. There are also 8 new wonders, with the Parthenon and the International Space Station at the forefront. It also comes with a plethora of new buildings and units, 2 new scenarios, including the American Civil War, and a new trade route system. One way that it treads new ground from the base game is its interpretation of social policies. There is a new ideology system in place that tasks the player with choosing between order, freedom, and autocracy, each which have their own tenets with bonuses that are not wholly unlike the social policies in the core game. These changes make the later portions of the game feel a little fresher and less tedious. Diplomacy has changed somewhat in Brave New World as well, as the World Congress allows for voting that helps you influence the direction the world moves. There are also world activities such as the World's Fair and trade embargoes that help to shape these decisions. You can achieve diplomatic victory if you are voted the world leader. Tourism is also a new introduction to the game. You can gain tourists by having great works of cultural influence such as art, music, and literature. With all these additions, it allows for a wide array of ways to reach victory. The new civilizations help to showcase some of these new systems too, as some of them are encouraged to use the new trading route system. Thanks for watching! We hope you liked our countdown. If you'd like to keep up with new releases and reviews, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment below. Oh yes, before we forget, if we like your comment, you could be the lucky winner of this wireless mouse. Winners will be contacted directly, shipping inclusive. See you next time! Bye!